Welcome to this week's Conversations with Marléne and Pascale. This week we are going to be talking about the 3 things that keep you stuck in an unhappy relationship. Now, before we get into that, let's do a quick introduction. My name is Pascale Lane. I'm a therapeutic relationship and confidence coach, and I help women to decide whether to stay in their relationship and fix it and improve it, or whether to go and start a fresh new life for themselves, but knowing that they've done everything that they can and they're making the right decision for themselves and their children.
Fantastic. I love how you say fresh new life. That's a lovely way of thinking about it.
Yes, start that new chapter.
Yeah. So that's great to hear you, Pascale. So I'm Marléne Roshaw. I'm a therapist and coach and self-help author, and I help people with relationships. I've worked with couples and individuals, and I particularly specialize in helping people understand people pleasing, why they do it, and how not to do it so much so that they can have happier relationships and feel much more confident in themselves.
Wonderful, wonderful. And it's funny, isn't it? Because there's such a synergy between the work that we do. I know it's quite different, like the outcomes are often quite different, but it's all about relationships. It's all about life. It's all about self-confidence. It's all about, just really making sure that people are living the life that they want to be living ultimately, and
life
are happy
not
and
filled with fear, isn't it? A life that isn't filled with fear.
Filled with fear. And I often say a life that isn't like a compromise.
Yes, a life that isn't a compromise. Yeah.
Because why do we want to be compromising and settling? And there's all sorts of reasons why people do, but anyway, that's what we're all about. So we're having a think about why people, and I say people, I mean, when we're doing these kind of videos, I work almost specifically with women. I do occasionally work with men, but my target audience is women, not necessarily mothers, but usually women of kind of my age, our age, are mums. So it's not imperative, but it's just statistically about how it works. So why do women keep themselves stuck in unhappy relationships? And I mean, gosh, I mean, the list is endless. The list is endless. But I've picked kind of 3 themes that are the ones that generally tend to come up all the time. And I think the most obvious one is financial security and stability, which is a big deal. And is one of those things that is so like money, like we all need it, we want it, we need it, we can't live without it. And yet it's always that way up, isn't it, between yes, financial security, absolutely, like essential, like not knocking that at all, but also on balance, like how much is your happiness and freedom worth to you?
I'm curious to hear you say security and stability. Do you see them as the same thing?
Oh, that's a very good question. Financial security and financial stability.
Can I say why? Because I feel like I threw that at you, Pascale, and I haven't been very clear, have I? The reason I ask you is because I know, it comes up for me as well in my work with clients, particularly with couples, is that sometimes it's security, as in a woman will feel she literally can't, she hasn't got enough money to live on, and she feels she needs the security of that. Sometimes it's stability, as in, well, it's taken us 20 years to build this lovely home and, pay off our mortgage, and we've got this lovely house. And if I move out, or if we separate, we move out, both move out, we'll only have a tiny little place to live in each, and we won't have this lovely, stable wealth. So there's two different things that I see, and I was just curious if that's what you were referring to, because one is very, very much about fear and gosh, how will I live? And the other is more about, well, I don't want to give up something.
I think it's an excellent point. I think it's an excellent point you raise. Most of my clients are quite financially secure by themselves. So I do take the point that there is a difference. I wouldn't say it's necessarily the majority of my clients are independently financially secure, but that stability, that lifestyle, the house, you know, like lifestyle is something that is a big deal. It's a big deal. And I'm working with a few clients at the moment where that is the thing that is, you know, by this point now, they're already leading fairly separate lives. And they're kind of in this, we don't really tend to bump up against each other. When we do, it's a little bit explosive, or it's lonely, or it's, you know, there is a thing that makes it uncomfortable, and that's the bit that they want to change. But actually in the day-to-day, they're doing their own thing. They don't really have to answer to anyone. They're seeing their friends. They've got the nice house. They've got, you know, everything. And so why pull that apart? And I think I come back to what I was saying before. It's like, what is the price of happiness and freedom? And there's no judgment on that. Like, I'm always really clear, like there is absolutely no if you want to stay in this relationship, let's stay, but let's make it better. So if you are craving affection, if you are lonely, if your relationship has a partner who is abusive or aggressive, if there's alcohol dependency or drug use, anything like that, obviously when it comes to physical abuse, in a violent household, that's a completely different kettle of fish. I'm not talking about abusive households, but sometimes people are in emotionally abusive relationships and they don't even realize it because that's just how it's been for so long. So what is the price aspect of that, and where can we improve that if you're going to stay? And what are the benefits of leaving and maybe downsizing and maybe having less disposable income, but more energy and happiness and freedom? So, I mean, you know, not easy, not easy to figure out. And then of course, if we're go on.
No, I've had, you know, I've heard from many a person that, not many, but you know, a number of people that they spend quite a lot of money trying to buy some happiness, to regain something. They're spending quite a lot of money, whereas actually, if they spent the money on the therapy, that would solve their problems. But they don't recognize that. They don't sort of quite understand that the therapy is the thing to put the budget into. So they put the budget into, we'll go off on a cruise, or we'll go and buy another car, or we'll go and buy, you know, we'll do something to try to fix the problem. And actually, that's not the area to be spending money on. But they kind of think, well, I'll stay in this relationship even though I'm unhappy because I don't want to spend the money on the therapy. I'll spend it on something else to make the relationship better. So that's something that I've noticed. And at some point, obviously, they come to me or to you or to a therapist because they've realized that actually is the answer.
That doesn't work. Yeah.
That it doesn't work to be spending on other things.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. And you can spend thousands and thousands of pounds, you know, on courses and retreats and holidays and, you know, all sorts of gym memberships and going out and or any kind of distraction to take you away from the mundaneness of what's actually going on.
But as you're asking about that, as you're saying about that, and you're saying about, with, you know, you're talking about staying in an unhappy relationship. Do you think there's a sort of tipping scale there where the unhappiness, because people will stay in their comfort zone until their comfort zone becomes so uncomfortable that they don't want to stay in it anymore? And do you think there's a tipping scale where they become so unhappy that staying in the relationship for the sake of finances isn't an option anymore?
I do. But I think as women raised to generally speaking, raised to kind of think of everyone else before yourself, and prioritize the needs of everyone else over and above yourself. I think by the time women book a call with me, they just feel so broken.
They've reached that point.
You know, they've reached that point and they say, I just wish that I'd done this years ago. Which kind of leads into the second point, which is children. And children are a massive, I don't know whether anchor is quite the right word, but a massive reason why women stay stuck as well. And there's such an irony to that, really, because on one hand, like, overwhelmingly, we all want the best for our children, no matter how old they are, you know, whether they're little teenagers or adults. Like, we all want the best for our kids. And yet so often, and of course this also leans into the financial stability aspect of the life that the children have and what they're used to and their comforts and what might have to be sacrificed if the family separates. But again, happy parents that live separately is far more beneficial to the children than unhappy parents living together, but you can afford to do football and dance and gymnastics and whatever else. So that's more often than not, that's a hard pill to swallow. And I think it's easier to swallow if there is a tangible reason why mum and dad should split. If there's an obvious reason, if there's, you know, like we've talked briefly about, like if it's an abusive household, if there's alcohol or drug problems, if there's something big that is going on that is affecting the children, it's a much easier decision. But actually, so many of my clients are in relationships where there isn't a big obvious thing. It's just that the relationship feels empty, and my clients feel numb. And is that enough
for
them to leave? Yeah, is that enough? And again, so complicated. Like I'm really, 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 really clear. Like I never, ever, ever push my clients down the road. Like it's absolutely not my decision to make. But on balance, what are you teaching the children about relationships if you are lonely, cut off and numb?
Well, yes. And also I'm curious to know about how people think, if they want to stay in a unhappy relationship for the sake of the kids, how does that relate with their own experience of growing up? Were their parents together? Were their parents separate, because either or of those could have been a good or bad experience.
Absolutely, absolutely, and it more often than not repeats.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, this is why you and I love doing all the childhood work so much.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I love the childhood work so much because I would say 80% of my clients will be in some way, shape or form reworking their parents' relationship. It's rare, not I wouldn't say like impossible, I wouldn't say uncommon. Or it is uncommon. It's not, you know, it's not like beyond all belief that I will work with somebody who has had a very stable, loving household and their parents are still happily married, holding hands, and it just by the slice of the cake that I see and I work with, that is not my slice of the cake. It can happen because relationships, adult relationships, take on different life forms, if you like, for lots of different reasons. But very often there's a remodeling or reworking of the parents' relationship.
Mm-hmm.
It's just kind of how it goes.
Mm-hmm. And that, of course, impacts their decision, doesn't it? And how they feel about their own children. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And, you know, we've talked so many times before about that our parents are our foremost teachers. And so if you've grown up with these kind of patterns playing out, you just don't really see the signs. You're kind of like desensitized to the triggers.
I guess that's your
the
normal.
warning signs. Yeah.
The big reasons, money and kids, big reasons.
They are. And then the last one is self-confidence. And really, and how your self-confidence can be so impacted by an unhappy relationship. I was having this conversation with somebody the other day talking about like the workplace, and how an unhappy home relationship just affects everything that you do. You know, it affects how you show up, your energy, your self-belief, your self-concept in kind of every area of your life. And you can wear a mask. You can be happy in certain situations, or you can just fake happiness in certain situations. But ultimately, the more you have to work hard to be happy, the more exhausting it is. Like, you can't maintain that long term. It kind of, it fizzles away your energy, you know, which feeds back into back into everything that we've talked about. And I really do believe with every fibre of my body that when you make the decision that is right for you, everything else around you flourishes, because your energy is so much more. And that doesn't mean it's going to be easy. Like, of course it's not going to be easy. These things rarely are. But I, you know, I always say to my clients, in a year's time, you will look back on this and you will have come through it. It feels so hard at the moment, but you will have come through it and you will be such a different person as a result.
Yeah. And that confidence then can grow, do you think? Do you think that one of the reasons that people struggle with leaving an unhappy relationship is because not just generally how confident they are, but the energy that they're putting into the managing that difficult relationship is draining them to the point where it's knocking their confidence. So it's a kind of self-fulfilling loop, isn't it?
Absolutely. And actually, when you have the confidence to step away and make that change and thrive in that change, that boosts your confidence so much, because you're like, we've gone so long thinking I can't do this, and then you're like, wow, look at me now, check me out, doing it. Doing it, and the kids are happier, and you know, everybody's just, you know, the amount of women that I work with that without any effort lose weight, get healthier, get a promotion at work, you know, just by their energy just being so much more full and vibrant, because they haven't got that energy drain on them anymore.
Everybody's happier, and often that concern about finance, whether it's security or just lifestyle, is unfounded. It's not as nearly as much of a loss as people expect it to be, because the universe shuffles everything around, doesn't it?
Yeah.
And things just sort themselves out. So how can people who are in a situation, who are thinking, you know, I'm unhappy, I'm stuck in this unhappy relationship, but I'm concerned about the finances or the kids or my confidence, or how can they find you, Pascale?
Well, I've got a free 30-minute masterclass that I'm going to put in the links below this video. It's called Should I Stay or Should I Go? And it's just a really helpful way to just kind of think about what's going on, why it's going on, questions to ask yourself. And then, of course, if anybody wants to book a call to have a chat with me, there's a link to do that in there as well.
Is that a free chat?
Free chat, no pressure, absolutely no pressure.
Excellent.
I don't believe in heavy pressure. It's therapeutic work. I want everybody who works with me to be in it for the right reasons, but it's a free chat that I offer to help you figure that out.
Wonderful. Good. Okay. Well, thanks, Pascale.
Thank you.
Great. Love our conversations.
Always. I'll see you next week.
Next time. Bye.
Bye.